I can't lie to you, Arknights' version of Australia goes crazy, and thanks to the efforts of rock cancer raining from the sky and obscenely unsafe walking conditions, it manages to perfectly capture the life of your average Australian. You know, minus the eldritch abominations that make up the Australian wildlife. So, the dystopian world of Arknights manages to make living in Australia better than reality. An honest to God, impressive feat. So, is this event good? And should you read it? Or have you read it? Because this video is coming out after the event ends. Because 1 week is not enough time for me to make anything with my procrastination. Timeline complaints aside, Grinning Valley is a fairly solid event. Far from my most favorite of recent events, but it's cool, taking place before the events of the Victorian crisis and presumably after the events of things like Neolite, and not only serves as an introduction to the nation of Rimbilliton, but also as a further exploration of the relationship between the Doctor and Amiya. If you haven't figured it out from the thumbnail or the intro to this video, Rimbilliton is Arknights Australia, and it's pretty cool. Not my favorite region, but it hasn't gotten much focus, so that's not saying much. Not to wish the existence of OSHA on anyone, but if any place needs some workers' rights, workers' safety regulations, it's Rimbilliton. Child workers, out-of-regulation vehicles, mining operations which at best could be described as being run without care to the miners' health. It's a good backdrop for the event, but not as much of a focus like Sammy was in the Black Forest event. So, what's the story? Well, the story follows the adventures of a few characters. Alanna, playable when Hippogriff, Carmy or Potlid, Savage, the Doctor, Amiya, and of course our main attraction, Jerry. Also some unimportant no-name NPC Ray. The event takes us on a journey through Rimbilliton towards the legendary Grinning Valley to find a Ferrenmutt who saved Ray from a catastrophe. Not necessarily willingly, as Ray does hijack Alanna and Charmy's truck at the start of the event, setting the rest of the events in motion. I'm a very intelligent man and definitely did not realize I said event 3 times in the last sentence. Also, she gets my new favorite Arknights nickname, Jacker, which is what I want her to do to me. Alanna and Charmy's story, aside from accompanying our hijacker, is to find a place to get Charmy treated for her infection. And of course, our Rhodes Island crew is traveling Rimbilliton in order to search for some of the remnants of Amiya's life when she grew up in this country. And you know the saying about the journey being more important than the destination? Well, you better like that, because the titular Grinning Valley is never actually seen, cause Ray finds a Ferrenmutt before getting there, which allows for a time skip back to Rhodes Island. Kinda a bummer, but not entirely necessary for the story the event tells. So, let's discuss the characters in some detail, because the story isn't much to work with. Starting with our banner 6-star Ray, who's cool, I guess. I like her, but unfortunately for her, she's overshadowed in her own event by the main story's protagonists. That aside though, I enjoyed the insight she gave us into the life of workers of Rimbilliton, the suffering she goes through just to make a living, with her only protection from infection being a poor sand beast. Not that she isn't infected anyway, but the callous disregard for the life of her sand beast gets her motivated to search for the Fermenant who saved her. And she succeeds, in a certain way. She does find a Fermenant, not the one who saved her, but this one saves her from a catastrophe, so she kinda owes 2 now. And it's huge. That big blue orb up on the screen right now, that's its eye. Goddamn, Ferment's going crazy. Definitely get in their own video. But it is revealed by Amiya at the end of the event that the true identity of the one who saved her was in fact Babel, the predecessor of Rhodes Island, and another bit of build-up to the protection Rhodes Island provides the infected. Alanna and Charmy are up next. It's hard to talk about one without the other. Alanna is Charmy's adopted mother, and spends the entire event looking after her, caring for her despite her infected status. Charmy, the poor infected girl, is extremely upbeat and happy with her life, despite the hardships around her, using her untrained arts to try and help Alanna, even to the point of aggravating her infection. It's very clear how much the two love each other, and how the two are willing to go to extreme lengths for the other. Charmy, specifically, is an extremely tragic figure, with her smiley exterior actually being a front she puts up to ensure that should she ever meet her missing father, he would in fact recognize her. So yes, the smiley charmy bunny girl is in fact extremely distressed and masking that pain with a smile. But at least she got a hot adopted mom. Savage exists. She's serviceable as a supporting character, and it's nice to finally see her in an actual event. But she doesn't really do anything. She puts a blanket on Amiya, so she's peak for that alone. And I always enjoy seeing interactions between the Doctor and people who knew them before they got slapped with that amnesia beam. It's always cool to talk about the Doctor, especially as we are building up to the Babel event, and we get to see some more crumbs of that Doctor backstory. The Doctor serves a small but very interesting role in this event. On one hand, the intelligent and capable Doctor warning of the catastrophe, and on the other hand, the caring and compassionate Doctor looking after Charmy and dedicating time to helping Amiya. Aside from Calcet, no other person alive is truly able to make Amiya relax. And the young leader of Rhodes Island and king of the Sorkas needs their support more than anything. And even in the wilderness of Wimbledon, the young girl is able to get a peaceful night's sleep thanks to the presence of their father. And before she completely hijacks the Doctor's section, let's talk about Amiya. Grinning Valley is one of the few events that actually feature her as a character, normally limited to the confines of the main story. It's very nice to see her outside of that context. We get to see the most childlike side of Amiya this event, despite the obvious maturity beyond her years that she possesses. Amiya opens up about her life before Rhodes Island in this event, and as you can imagine, it's not exactly great. But when the accident that took her family occurred, it was none other than the Ghost of Babel that pulled her from the wreckage. And I'm really looking forward to that Babel event coming our way soon, because all the crumbs that we've seen, all the crumbs that we know, all pointing towards it possibly being the best event that we've ever gotten. And at the very end of the event, in fact the last line of the event, we get to see that Amiya is questioning herself. She asks the Doctor, "Do you trust me?" And even though we don't get to see the answer the Doctor would give, I can only assume it would be a 100% yes. After seeing the side of Babel through Ray's memories, she's no doubt wondering if she can truly live up to the dream of her adopted mother Teresa, which I'm sure sooner or later we'll get an answer on that. Also, Jerry's cool. Don't really have anything else to say on him, but I hope he has a happy marriage. Overall, I would say the event is pretty solid. Nothing insane to write home about, but if you are interested in Amiya at all, I would recommend reading it. I do have to say that I thought Ray was a rather weak feature in this event. I would prefer the Banner 6-star, especially in the shorter events, to have the primary focus. Obviously, it doesn't always work out, but when you have a character like Amiya there, it's tough for any new character to steal that shine when we're so invested in the leader of Rhodes Island. Overall, I thought it was a fairly interesting exploration of Fahrenheit as a concept, because clearly we as Arknights readers know about these gods, but seeing, normal civilians and even members of Rhodes Island at this time having really no knowledge on them, it's very interesting. Although, yet again, we have the Sweet Sibling events, and as far as I remember, those are the furthest point in the Arknights timeline, except for Enfield that we know of right now. So we do kind of have an advantage over the actual characters. Also, Asbestos appears, only for like one scene, but she's there, and I hope we get more of her. Asbestos Alto when Hippogriff. Y'all be good people, and I will see you in the next one.